So the community is throwing shade toward Bungie for Marathon being a paid title while also having a battle pass and paid skins. What's up everybody, today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to start covering a slew of Marathon topics, and today we're going to be going over the controversy of Marathon being a paid title. Marathon is set to release on September 23rd of this year with a rumored price tag of $40, which I wouldn't really call a premium price tag when compared to other titles like Call of Duty and Helldivers 2 for example. But we'll get more into that in just a moment, so first let's tackle the question, is Marathon worth the price tag in today's gaming market? Now, understanding how a game is priced in 25 isn't always the knee-jerk reaction when doomsaying and hate posting alleviate the majority of sour feelings in the moment, but if you take a second to understand it logically from both the Bungie and player point of view, we can see that having a mid-tier price point in an age where games and consoles are costing upwards of $600 to play in combination with launches like the Switch 2, I think that Bungie's rumored price tag of $40 is completely reasonable in terms of base cost for a product. As I'm thinking back, we've seen titles show a lot of success at the $40 price point, such as the obvious Helldivers 2, which has surpassed fan and developer expectations in their own. At the $40 price point to buy into the game, you're greeted with a strong and active player base who enjoys grouping up and playing the game because its gameplay backs up most of its mid-tier price points they're asking, which obviously brings us to what Bungie is offering for its rumored $40 price point when you first purchase the game. Upon the initial purchase of Marathon, players will get access to 6 unique runners, 3 worlds to loot, explore, and complete contracts on, and several compelling lore and story elements for you to adventure through as you run your way through the game. We won't go into the breakdown of exactly what every runner does, as everybody kind of has their breakdown video out there at the moment and has done this 10 times over, and we can save that for another day. The game itself doesn't have a single player campaign, which I am personally okay with as long as the compelling lore and story elements are told through the world and through the items you can find while completing contracts in the game itself. The lack of a single player campaign is shown in its final price tag and drives home the point that Marathon is a multiplayer extraction experience first and foremost, with the emphasis on live service options in the future front and center. And that kind of brings us into one of the main arguments that players have about paying for a game and then being fed battle passes at an in-game item shop or gacha on top of their buy, which is usually in bad taste. And while I could bring up examples of Call of Duty being a completely full-priced game that has a huge battle pass element, a standalone market, and several paid DLC through only 1 year of its life before having another version dropped on you, because the community sentiment on this topic is split weirdly right down the middle, when I assumed there would be a lot more hype that drowned out all the doomsayers and hate posting about the price for the amount of content you're receiving and might have to pay for in the future. A large majority of the community stands by the belief that you can have games one of two ways: a paid version of the game that offers a full campaign, unlockable styles, and DLC, which is usually paid, or you can have a game that is free to play and often doesn't offer a single player campaign. They incentivize battle passes and offer extra cosmetics and content through a shop and storefront. And when you stray outside of these norms, it usually raises the obvious questions of why and what you're offering that is different to justify the added price tag along with your battle passes and shop offerings. Personally, I ask what positives could possibly come from having to pay a premium for a multiplayer experience that has traditionally been offered for free from competing studios. So let's talk a bit about the positives of having a paid title. We've already covered what you're getting for the price point, so that really leaves us with the final question of what good comes from having a paid live service game. And honestly, the first one that comes right to mind is having way less cheaters. No matter what, when you're offering a free-to-play title, you will inevitably have players who will burn accounts to test and try out cheats, which ultimately dampens the player experience in a game meant for tactical extraction. The best example I can give of this is the recently shut down extraction The Cycle, where being free-to-play caused an immense amount of cheaters to enter the game and create an otherwise unenjoyable experience for players trying to extract with loot after spending time to tactically and properly play the game. This caused players to leave the game in droves and ultimately to the game's demise shortly after. Now let's talk about Escape from Tarkov, the king of extraction shooters, where players are asked to pay a similar premium price tag for access that offers further paid options in the form of game versions that contain added perks for players to purchase and use as well. While cheaters are in every game and Tarkov has seen its fair share, I would argue that the problem is 100 times worse if they offered the game for free to all players. Helldivers 2 is another example of a game that was offered at a mid-tier price point that has seen success in its lifetime for offering players amazing support for their live service game and keeps exploiters at bay for the most part. So this idea that a game can't be amazing while also offering a competitive price seems a bit moot to me, and rather just a case of people doomsaying for the sake of doomsaying. I think everybody can relate and understand to the feeling of being ripped off by certain games that offer you a $100 early access version with a battle pass and paid cosmetics, but Marathon simply isn't that in this case. I feel like Bungie is offering a truly balanced experience with both Marathon's price point and the amount of content being offered at launch, and I think more people need to keep in mind that as a live service game, Marathon will see plenty of updates along with the introduction of more runners and planets over time. I think overall we are in for a great experience in the extraction shooter space that is desperately in need of some competition to continue its overall innovation. I'm super hyped for Marathon, and I think I've watched that cinematic short about 50 times now, and I'm loving the vibe that Bungie is creating with their game. I think we've covered just about everything there is on that topic, and if you want to continue the discussion, drop a comment below and let's chat about it. I hope everybody's excited for alpha and beta access next month, and I will see everybody out there on Tuesday to run for a contract.